Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Geek Games. What are we calling this?
Oh,
Let's redo.
it's a SPOILERCAST.
We're calling I almost said Gears of War. God of War SPOILERCAST. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, welcome to the Geek Games God of War SPOILERCAST. I am your host, Cody, and I'm alongside my friend, Sam Suvak.
Hello.
I don't know why I said your last name, but not mine. I'm Cody Teacher. How's it going?
I missed that. Everybody knows who Cody is. He doesn't need a last name.
So today we were talking about God of War, and it's going to be a spoiler cast. So if you don't want to be spoiled, walk away now, because this is not the show for you.
And if you're thinking, like, maybe I would like to play God of War, but I don't know, I'd like to know a little bit more about it before I decide, don't listen to this podcast, because part of what God of War is so cool about is all of the surprising things that happen in it, and so you definitely don't want to be spoiled for that. We did another podcast where we talked about God of War without spoilers, so go back and listen to that one. It's entitled, Where'd I Leave My Axe? So...
Where did you leave it?
That's the fucking question. I was just looking for my mini hatchet that's supposed to be in my emergency bag in the trunk of my car, and I couldn't find it. So I don't know where I left my axe. I'm really concerned. So.
People are really just going to be like, why does she need a mini hatchet? Reasons, okay? Anyways. So, God of War came out last month, and we've both beaten it now. Sam, how long did it take you? About a week, you would say?
Oh, I don't recall. I hate when games don't keep track of your time. Although that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I did take my time with it. It was definitely more than a week. At least a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of just like, kind of taking it easy and enjoying it. I didn't want to rush through it. And also, I think, like I said before, like, this kind of game can be hard on my wrists and hands, because like you're just constantly doing stuff. There are no breaks in it, so that kind of limited my time that I could play like in one sitting. So
yeah, I ended up beating it the weekend it came out just because I love God of War, and I was like, although I was really sad once I beat it because I was like, oh, well, now I just want to keep going. But luckily, I had the platinum to go for, and I did end up getting the platinum for it a couple days later. So I did have about a week with the game. So yeah, we're here to talk about all the spoilery story stuff that we enjoyed. I think where we kind of want to first start is the first big boss battle. And so, setting the scene, Kratos and his son just got home. They just did the fire for their mom, and now they're hanging out at the house, getting ready to leave. And Kratos hears a knock on the door. Or actually, it's like a big, like, the house starts shaking, you hear like some flapping of wings, and then there's a knock at the door, and Kratos is like, oh god, and he sends Atreus underneath the floorboards where he's never supposed to go, and he opens the door, and there's a tattooed stranger there, and
I just realized like, why he's never supposed to go there. I didn't make that connection before. We'll get to that.
Oh. I love this game so much. There's so many things. So there's a tattooed stranger there, and he's really pushing Kratos, and then that's when the first boss fight starts. And like, this dude's going toe-to-toe with Kratos in one of the most epic superhero fights of all time. Like, you are throwing each other through walls, you're fighting in the air. Like, I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is what a way to start the game. Yeah. Sam, what did you think about that entire scene?
Yeah, well, I'd heard a lot of hype about it going into it, and I was like, yeah, it definitely lives up to it. It's very exciting, and like, I kind of had moments of despair where I was like, how am I going to defeat this guy? This is just like, because you'd think you'd got him defeated, and then he'd come back, and he was fine, and you're like, you eventually find out that, he can't be hurt, he can't be injured, really, so it's like, how am I going to get out of this? And so it was a very intense battle. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and like, at the end of the fight, when you break his neck and toss him off, I think you were supposed to have a feeling like, okay, I won. But in my head, I was like, he's coming back. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way that was it.
Yeah.
So after that, Kratos is kind of like, all right, we gotta get out of here. Like, Atreus, come on. Even though he was telling Atreus just before this that he's not ready. So they start to go. They're going to spread their mother's ashes, Atreus' mother's ashes, on the highest peak in the realm, which they think is this mountaintop. So you're going, and you run into, after a little bit, you run into a boar that looks magical, and Atreus ends up shooting it.
Oh my god, yes.
And this is where you're introduced to the witch in the
Mhm.
woods, how we first meet her, as we come to find out she's actually Freya, Odin's wife. And I love this character.
Yes.
I liked her from the start, and even in the end, when we get to it, I still liked her. I thought she was a great character.
Yeah.
Sam, you seem really excited, so I wanted to let
Yes.
you go.
Oh my god, I was so excited when we ran into her and when she led us back to her little grove. The scenery was so beautiful, and this is where the game kind of took a turn because before you were in the woods, it was snowy, it was fine, like it was a beautiful landscape, but it was a very natural, yes, this is like a real thing. And then this is the point where you cross over and you start getting into the real fantastical, magical looking things. Like there's some type of deer or elk with like glowing blue horns. There's just these bright red flowers and things like that you just wouldn't see in nature. Her house is a freaking turtle. And
That
it's
was
just
all.
he just like lifts up and so she can like go in. I don't know if she's inside him or if she's just under him. I don't know.
Under?
I guess that makes
I
more
think.
sense. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
pretty awesome that there's this turtle. So it's just like this magical world. So I really like getting to see that aspect of the story. And then Frey is just super cool. Before you know who she is, she's just like this witch who's really into like nature and she wants to heal this hog that you shot because it's her friend. And she just seems really cool. And I was like, man, I hope we get to see more of her as the story goes on. And luckily we did. So that was cool.
Yeah, so after we met her, I was like, okay, hopefully she comes back. That's what I was hoping, and luckily she did. So from there, we're reaching almost to the top of the mountain, and we run into there's two dwarves we run into, Brock and Sindri, and good lord, are they some of the funniest characters in this entire game? Like they contrast so well because Brock is just like brash, like arrogant, like
Cusses like a
dirty,
sailor, yeah.
cusses like a sailor, and Sindri is like definitely wants to be clean. He doesn't try to be like rude or brash. He's just it's they're just and they're brothers, and when they end up coming back together, it's just really funny because I think the interactions get even funnier when they come back together.
I love them, and I also just the way that the game works is like because these are they dwarves? Is that what they are?
Yes, they're dwarves.
And so like dwarves have this ability to just like kind of teleport through space and dimensions. And so pretty much like any location you go to, one of them would just pop up and be there. So it wasn't like you ever had to backtrack and go search for one. Like they were always just around. So it was so convenient.
I remember the first time you go to the elf realm, Alfheim. And I walked around the corner and I could hear the clanging and the banging. I was like
how'd
no
they get here?
Like, how did they get here?
Oh my god, let me just say, when we first meet Brock for the first time, like, you hear from a distance there's this animal that's in, like, serious distress. And I got pretty upset, like, walking towards that, because I'm like, what's happening to this animal? Is somebody killing it? But it was not. It was fine. It's his little pack animal, and he was just scared to go across the bridge because he saw something across the way, so it was just, like, him being scared. And then, like, I think Atreus went and talked to the animal and was like, hey, it's alright, dude, and settled him down. It was really sweet. So that made me happy, because I'd been worried that something bad was going to happen to the animal. But it was all good.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't think nothing really bad happens to animals in this game.
Well, so. I mean, dragons are animals.
Yeah, good point.
We'll get to that.
I'm trying to remember, is the dragon before we meet Mimir, or is it after? It's before, because we just meet Sindri for the first time.
Yes. So, and before we get to that, There was some just regular little battle, and I think it was with an ogre or a troll. But the first time I was fighting one of these things, and it picked up just like another enemy and threw it at me,
Oh, yeah.
I just lost my shit. I was like, this is fantastic. I loved whenever that happened, and once I got the like return projectiles ability, I really wanted to try to do that with an enemy that was thrown at me, but I never did get it. Did you ever do that? Is that something you can do?
No, I think it's like you're technically not throwing back. You're just like
Absorbing energy.
you're absorbing energy, and then
Okay.
your shield bounces the energy back.
Okay. I would really
Because I
like
think
to be able to throw an enemy
that'd be
back. That would have
awesome.
been awesome.
So yeah, we kind of I would not really the middle boss fight, but like the second big boss fight is this dragon you fight, and this was super awesome
This was
because
so
like
good.
this is what like in the old God of War games, like it was about the spectacle about a big fight. Like I want to say it's the beginning of God of War 2, you're taking down a gigantic like stone statue, and it's so awesome. And this was equivalent to that because it's like this dragon is huge. You're like doing all you can against it, and you end up like smashing its head into like this rock, and like
Wait, come back to the very beginning of that fight where you go inside the mouth of the
oh
dragon and
yeah,
you're fighting from the inside of the dragon's mouth. It was so amazing.
yeah, that entire all the boss fights in this game are amazing, but that one, the first two really take the cake. Like I was like, this is just amazing. Like oh my gosh.
And
Um,
I'm going to say something that's probably going to make you a little bit unhappy, but when I did that boss fight with the dragon, I was like, this is what I hoped Monster Hunter World was going to be like. It was,
okay, that's reasonable. But
and
like,
the difference is like, you know, you're fighting this giant thing. Like how could you ever even put a dent in it? But it's one of those things where it has like the patterns and you have to learn what it's doing and then like learn the proper counter to avoid that and do damage. So it's like a very logical fight and it all makes sense, but you look so badass while you're doing it. So it was so much fun.
yes, after that, Sindri's like, oh, let me upgrade your axe and all that, and then we continue on through the mountain, and we're reaching.
Oh, I was
Oh,
just gonna say, I love that every time you upgrade your axe, like physically, your axe
oh yeah, it
changes
gets
and
like
starts to look prettier and prettier, and like as the game goes on, it just looks so amazing as it gets stuff added to it. It's great.
yeah. We reach the top of the mountain. We're climbing up, and we can hear some people talking, and we find out that the stranger, not dead, and he also has two buddies along with him. We'll meet them a little bit later on after this. But they're talking to somebody, and you get up there, and you don't see anybody up there. It's just they were talking to somebody, but you don't see anybody. And you kind of turn, and there's a head. There's like a human being like merged inside this tree. This is where we meet Mimir, the talking head, and he is hilarious.
Mimir is the best. He is so much fun.
At this point, this is when because like you're like, oh, this is gonna be the end. Like we're at the top of the like the highest peak in the realm,
So
and
many
Mimir's like,
times in this
nope,
game, I think, oh, I'm almost to the end. This is gonna be it. And it's like,
yeah.
nope, nope. Like, once you get closer to the end, like, you're like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm gonna get there. Nope, nope, still going. So, but we'll get to that.
Um, so Mimir like lets you know, like, no, like the highest point is in Jotunheim, and Kratos is like, why would she want us to go there? We'll find out for reasons.
Have we been to Alfheim before we met Mimir? I feel like maybe we were. I don't recall why.
Yes, we got okay. So you did go to, and before this, you did go to Alfheim because you needed a light from there to get rid of the fog that was blocking your way up the mountain.
Oh, right, right, right. That's what it
So you
was.
have been to
Yes.
Alfheim, and like
Okay, but something
I didn't really
happened.
like that place, but go for it.
But
Oh, oh
something
God, there
really
was that
important.
one thing.
Okay, so when you go to get the light, it's this huge column of light, and I guess Kratos has like this artifact that he has to fill. So he ends up like sticking it in the light, and he gets pulled into this column of light. And while he's in there, he is like seeing the past, like right after his wife died, and he's listening to Atreus talk to his wife, And it is heartbreaking because,
Yeah.
you know, he's saying these things like, Mom, it should have been Dad that died, not you. You're so much better. I need you in my life. Why did you leave me with him? All of this. And it is so upsetting. And I was just like, oh my God, Kratos had to hear that.
Yeah, and like the wife's name is Faye, and so Faye is like kind of like asking Kratos to come to her, and like
Oh.
he keeps going, and then he gets ripped out of this pillar of light, and Atreus is like pissed off at him, and he's like, "Whoa, stop yelling!" Like, and
Well,
like,
Kratos is yelling at Atreus. He's like, "I told you not to pull me out of there," because like he told him beforehand
yeah,
not to interrupt it. So he was pissed. And then
uh, you kind of look around and you realize Atreus has been out here for a very long time, and he's killed like over 100 of these dark elves,
yes, it's
and
like
like
just a
he's pissed
slaughter
off.
zone. Oh my
He's
God.
like, "You left me out here. Like, why would you leave me?" And you're just like, "Whoa, like that's crazy." Um, yes, you needed the light
Yeah.
for the Bifrost to get rid of this fog before you go up the mountain. So we did
Yeah.
miss that part.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So he lets us know, hey, highest point in the valley is, or highest point in the realm is in Jotunheim. So Kratos is like, "This is what your mother wanted," and he's like, Mimir's like, "Well, the only way you're gonna get there is if you have me, but I'm stuck in this tree, so you get to cut off my head." And it's so funny because Atreus is like, "What?"
I was like, what? Are we seriously going to cut his head off? This is going to be great.
Uh, so and so throughout this entire game, people are like, "Hey, Kratos, we know who you are.
Yeah.
Like, we know you're a god." And so Mimir is like, "The boy doesn't know, does he?" And Kratos is like, "No, and I would not have him know." And he's like, "Well, there's gonna be repercussions." And
Yeah.
Kratos like looks down at his axe and goes, "I'm going to cut off your head now." And I lost it because that was like, it's such a Kratos thing to say, but it's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yes.
So we chop off Amir's head, and he wanted us to head back to the witch because the witch can reincarnate his head and like make it all so he can still talk and be free, kind of. So we head back there. And this is where we find out who the witch is. This is when we find out she's Freya because she brings Mimir's head back to life, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Freya, how's it going?" And
Isn't she slap him?
Yeah, she like slaps him, like, "How dare you?"
He's just a head and she slaps him.
And Kratos instantly gets like pissed off because he doesn't trust gods, and
Yeah.
Freya was a god. So he like gets Mimir, and they're leaving. Like he's so pissed off about it. So after that whole like big thing, they have to figure out a way to get to Jotunheim. So they call the World Serpent.
Oh my God, I forgot about the World Serpent. Oh my God, this
Yeah.
is such a great part because beforehand, you're on the thing in the center of the lake where you can like turn to go to different realms or whatever, and there's this part in the middle where you can raise up this platform and there's this horn. And before I'd gone to it, I'd tried to blow the horn, and it's like, this is not the time for that. So I was like, man, what are we gonna do with this horn? I can't wait to see what it's gonna be. So once we get Mimir, we go over there. He takes us up on the platform. He sticks Mimir's head up to the horn, and he blows through it, makes this loud noise, and then the World Serpent like wakes up and brings his head over and starts talking, and it's amazing. Cody.
Yeah, it's really funny because like Mimir speaks the language of
Yes.
the World Serpent. It's super funny. Um, so we kind of learned that in order to get to Jotunheim, we need to find a relic that'll power the kind of, I want to call it like a station, but it's like a, I don't know what you want to call it.
Like the
It was where
transport
Mimir was. Yeah, it was called
realm.
transport. So we go and we set off to do that, and this is where we run into the twins, Magni and Modi.
That sounds Magnus and Modi, maybe?
I know one's Magni. I feel like the other one has to be Modi.
I don't know. I never really caught their names. I was too busy
Yeah.
kicking God's asses.
So this is the like kind of big third boss fight that we get into. This is pretty.
Did this? Did Atreus get sick yet?
No, that happens after.
Okay.
That happens
Sorry.
after this. Yeah.
Oh, because he's an asshole. Is he an asshole? No, he's an asshole. He's not an asshole. Because this is the first battle with them.
Yeah, this is the first battle.
Okay.
The second battle is when he gets sick.
Okay. All right.
So we get the relic and we fight them, and it's kind of a cool fight because
it's really cool.
Am I still there for you?
What? Oh wait.
I froze.
Okay.
So what did you guys hear?
It was a really cool fight.
It was a really cool fight where you're kind of one of the they come at you at different times, but they're talking a bunch of shit and pissing off Atreus. Like Atreus is getting very angry.
Were they talking about his mom yet or not?
Yes, they start bringing up the mom thing. Yeah. And he does not like that. So you're blocking and countering all at the same time because they're coming at you multiple times, and you end up killing Magni. Like you just beat the shit out of him, and like Modi's like, "Nah, I'm out of here. Like, roll out."
Yeah.
So I think after that is when we're going to the Lake of the Nines, what's called, the little thing in the middle of the island, where you can kind of go to different realms. We're going to go inside of it because we learn that what is his name? The Tyr.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyr.
Tyr had found a way to get to the different realms.
And Tyr was a giant?
Tyr is the Norse god of war, and he was just really friendly with the giants.
Right. He liked the giants, yeah. They got along really well.
So we get inside this room, and like you're like, all right, like this is it. We're gonna like figure out a way to get a Jotunheim after this. And then Kratos and Atreus look at each other, and they're like, "You smell rain?" And like I was really like, "What the fuck? Like rain?" And then out of nowhere, Modi shows up, and like is like electrocuting Kratos and just talking shit about Atreus' mom. And Atreus, like for a split second, begins to have Spartan rage. Like you see like the energy crackle around him, and his skin gets a little bit more paler than usual, and then he just passes out. And is this the part where Kratos kills Modi?
No.
I feel like
no. Kratos doesn't kill Modi.
Yeah, Kratos fucking scares him away. Like Kratos like beats him up and scares him away. So, this is when this entire time Ymir has been like, you need to tell the boy what he really is, or else this is going to hurt him.
Yeah.
So he hasn't. And Kratos is like, no, I won't have him know. So Kratos hasn't been doing it. So Atreus is suffering from this. They bring him back to Freya because she's the only one who could possibly heal him. And Freya is pretty much like, his mind can't handle the fact that he is a god, but he doesn't know he's a god. So he has a war inside of his body going on. So the only way to heal him is to get from the guardian of the bridge in Helheim. So we are about to go to Helheim.
Cut out? What did you say?
To get a relic from the guardian of the bridge of Helheim.
Okay.
And she lets us know that our axe won't work in Helheim. It's so cold that nothing will work there. And this is when Cody got, and you told me like last podcast, I get the goosebumps too easy, but the goosebumps formed for like 3 hours after this.
Yeah.
So you're like, Bear's like, I know what I must do. I must return home. Now, as someone who didn't play the God of War games, what did you think was going to happen?
Okay, so when I was like, oh, he has to go back to Greece? And so then he gets in this boat and he's going, and I'm like, what's happening? Is he like real close to Greece? Like, is this, I don't understand. And then he gets to his house in the woods, and I'm like, oh, he meant that home. Okay. But yeah, I had no idea what was coming. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened?
Okay, I just double checked. It is Magni and Modi.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
So the music kicks in, and it's the music from the end of God of War 3, and then on the boat is the kind of like projection of Athena
Mm-hmm.
that followed you around in God of War 3. And Kratos is like, Athena, leave me alone. And like it's just building. You're like, okay, something's about to happen. And so Kratos returns home, he opens the door, he unlocks that panel where Atreus was hiding earlier, where he was never supposed to go, and he pulls out this kind of like wrapped up object, and you're like, oh, I wonder what this is. And he undoes them, and it's the Blades of Chaos from the old God of War games. And I lost my shit. I was like, no, because I was not expecting this. I was like, no, we're just gonna have the axe the entire time. They're not gonna bring back the Blades of Chaos, right? So fucking cool. And like the cinematic that kind of happens while he's wrapping the chains around, like how Athena is like, "You're nothing but a monster," and he's like, "Yes, but I am your monster no longer."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It hit me. I was like, "Oh
That was
god,
so
this is so
good.
cool." So we have the Blades of Chaos, which is it'll be able to deal with the cold in Helheim. So we head back to the Lake of Nine.
Hold on. Let me just say, as somebody, I played a little bit of God of War 3, but I didn't, remember, know anything. And these blades are not, they're not your dad's blades, man. These are like new and improved and amazing blades. So as soon as you exit your house, like all these enemies start coming, and it's like your training practice ground to get to learn how to use these blades. And I had so much fun. I'm like, oh my god, these things are amazing. And it just blew me away how cool this was. And I was thinking, people who were into the older games are probably like losing their shit right now so much, because
Oh
I
yeah,
don't think anyone expected this. I mean, this is like a great, spoiler that like I don't think got spoiled for people, because like I had no idea. I didn't hear anyone even making any sort of little reference to it. So it's so cool to have a surprise like that in the game. And then these weapons are just so amazing, because from this point on you can just easily switch back and forth between
yeah.
the axe and the blade. Um, and they're just uh, they're great for, they each have their own like specific uses. But they make like a perfect pairing, because like
Oh yeah.
I once Atreus got sick and I was looking at my weapon stats and everything, and I'm like, well, I've got like the max level for all the skills for my axe. So I was like, I must be real close to the end of the game, because I mean, what else
Yeah.
is there to do here? And then I was like, how am I really going to do this combat without Atreus by me? Because like I've come to rely on him and his arrows to do stuff for me. So then getting the blades, and then like seeing this whole new page of skills that are gonna unlock for the blades, I was just like, oh boy, it's on now. So
Yeah, I really liked how the combat kind of flowed seamlessly. Like you could have the axe out, throw it, use it like as a ranged attack, and then switch the blades super fast and do a
mm-hmm.
follow up attack. And like, yeah, I think they really, and like each weapon has its purpose. Like
Yeah.
because there are enemies that are element based. So like
Mm-hmm.
your ice axe isn't going to do anything, but the Blades of Chaos will because it's based
Mm-hmm.
in fire. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So we head to Helheim, and this place is looking really cool. Got all these dead souls wandering
Mm-hmm.
around. Um, so we get to the end of the bridge, and we have to fight the Guardian. We defeat the Guardian. I didn't have too much trouble with it. Did you? Because it's just like a giant troll. Because the ogres are the ones you can kind of
Jump
mount.
on and control them.
Yeah,
That was something fun. Like some of these
that was fun.
enemies, you can jump on them and like start beating them and like make them beat up other enemies for
Yeah,
you.
that was my favorite part about riding them. But it's just kind of like a giant troll fight, but like he has a couple extra moves in there where like he can smash his like they all have this like giant stone pillar with like runes on them, and he smashes the pillar and like sends like waves at you, so you block those. We kill him. I'm pretty sure we carve the this relic out of his chest, but they don't show it, which
Yeah, I
like
don't remember that part
was
really.
very different from because I know God of War games, we would just have seen Kratos carving that fucking relic out of his chest, like, um, and so Kratos turns and looks in the sky because we have the bridge to Helheim in front of us, and there's like a giant like creepy bird creature sitting there, and I'm like, that's coming back in a future game, or in the end of the game, something's gonna happen with that thing.
That bird was awesome, man.
It was very awesome looking. He looks in the sky next to the bird though, and the face of Zeus forms, and you're like, oh shit, like this is where Zeus is. So that was pretty cool to see. So we leave Helheim, and we get back to the witch, and Atreus is healed. And this is kind of a big moment in the game, because Kratos is like, alright, you want the truth? I'm a god, and you're a god. And some really cool dialogue, because he's like, can I turn to an animal? And Kratos like doesn't know to respond. He's like, can you turn into an animal? No, I don't think you can.
Well, there's some stuff really where he's like, I don't know what he asks, but Kratos is like, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if that's something you can do. It'll just depend on how your powers manifest. So,
and so this is kind of when, like a little bit after this, Atreus is like, all right, I'm a god. Cool. He kind of starts becoming an asshole because he's like, I'm a god. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Who cares about these random people? And like, I think my favorite part about this is that he like just becomes really douchey and like will tell his dad whatever.
Yeah, well, and he's a jerk to Brock, I think, as well, or Sindri, one of them. He's
Sindri,
really
he goes
mean
off
to him.
on Sindri.
Yeah,
he's like, leave me the hell alone. We don't want to help you. You're nothing but a dwarf. It's like,
yeah,
good God.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we missed an important part, because there was a part where, I don't know if Atreus told him or if Freya told him or something, but like Atreus had always felt there was a certain like disappointment or something that Kratos felt in him. But it was really like Kratos' self-hatred about being a god, and the fact that Atreus was a god, it like rubbed off on him, and like that was having a negative effect on him as well.
When they're getting in the boat, like just before Kratos is like, you want the truth, he's like, I know the truth now, like you never wanted me.
Yeah.
Stuff like, and like that really hit hard. I was like, ooh. And then he was like,
so sad.
And he ended with like, I know the truth, and that's when Kratos was like, you want the truth? I'm a god. You're a god.
And I think doesn't he have like almost the entire conversation where he tells him that, where he's facing away from Atreus, like Atreus is behind him. So it's really like, I don't know, it's really well done. The emotions in this game are so well done.
So we head back to where we were before, where Modi like attacked, and we actually get to go inside the Vault of Tyr, and we kind of learn a lot about what Tyr was doing and how he like found a back door, and like assume the back door is actually where Mimir was. Like that's where the gate is, because the Bifrost won't let you go to Jotunheim because it's blocked by Odin.
Yeah, like I think they destroyed the tower or something that normally you would dock to, so you can't get to it that way.
So they assume that where Mimir was before we cut his head off was like that's where Tyr would go. So they get the rune, and I think they're going back through the mountain, and this is where we run into Modi for the third and final time. And this is where like Kratos is like, let him live, boy, he's defeated. And Atreus says, no, I'm a god, I'm going to kill him. And just stabs him with his like knife. And like, you're just like, oh god, like holy shit, like what an asshole.
Yeah, and so like this is about the point when I'm starting to think things like, okay, this game's taking a twist, and Atreus is going to be the ultimate boss that we have to fight, because he's going to turn so bad at the end of the game, I'm going to have to fight against him. Or I'm like, one of the next games, like he's going to be bad and I'm going to have to fight against him. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't see this coming at all, but that's not really what happened. So
yeah. So this is just kind of more asshole Atreus, where he's like, this is when he really starts hitting the whole like anytime you order him to shoot an arrow, he's like, whatever.
Oh my god, that was
like,
so funny. I was just like, what a shit. Because you had told me he was going to turn into an asshole, and I was like, I'm probably going to be amused by it. I'm probably going to like it, because I like Damian Wayne, who's a little asshole. But Atreus was too much of an asshole. I did not enjoy that. I was getting pissed at that boy. I was like, no, sir. Mm-mm.
So, after Modi is dead, and, like, Kratos is kind of, like, really pissed off at Atreus, and Mimir even comments, he's like, all right, come on, guys. Like, y'all giving each other the silent treatment. It's not going to work. So they climb up to where Mimir's body was, and we're getting ready. Like, Jotunheim is, like, in sight. Like,
I'm like, this is it.
Right?
This is the end of the game. This is going to be great.
No. And then the stranger shows up, but now we know that's actually Baldur.
Wait. Is this where we get punched into Helheim? We go to Helheim.
No. That goes a bit later.
Okay.
So Baldur shows up, beats the hell out of Kratos, and Atreus is like, I can take him. And Kratos is like, no, get out of here. He wants you. Because the entire time, like, he's, like, Baldur's been wanting Atreus. Not Kratos like Kratos thought. And I forget what Atreus does. Oh, he shoots Kratos with one of the electric arrows, I think, right? Or just shoots him with an arrow?
Shoots Baldur?
And no,
he shoots Kratos?
He shoots Kratos. Not intentionally, I don't think. Could have been intentional. But that, like, gives Baldur enough of an opening to, like, knock Kratos out for a second.
Okay.
So Kratos comes to and sees Baldur taking Atreus on his little dragon.
Oh yeah.
And this is where we hop on the dragon, and, like, kind of ensues. And yeah, the fight on the dragon is really badass, because you're, like, dodging, and, like, he gets, like, on top of you and is punching you, and you have to, like, dodge
and hit. Yeah, it was great. I was real bad at it. It took me quite a few times to get that timing down.
So I'm pretty sure this is where
we end up in Helheim.
We end up in Helheim.
Yeah.
Like, we crash the dragon, and then we end up flying into the little area where the Bifrost in the Lake of the Nine, and he opens up a thing to Helheim, and we end up going into it. And this is where we kind of, like, get a little bit more backstory on Baldur, because we're kind of sneaking around.
And this is where we also, Atreus starts to mellow out again, and he starts to
because I think
he's cool.
He sees, like, a shadow version of himself. Because this is what happens in Helheim. If you stay there too long, you get to meet, like, your real self. So he sees, like, a shadow version of himself, and he realizes how big of an asshole he was being. So he, like, apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
So we're sneaking around, and this is where we see Baldur is talking to his shadow self. And this is where we find out that Baldur is Freya's son. And Freya put, like, not a curse, but it is kind of a curse, where he cannot die or be hurt in any way.
And the side effect of that is, like, he said, we can't feel pain anymore, but he can't feel anything anymore.
Yeah.
And so he hates his life, and he hates his mother for doing this. And he's a little crazy about it.
A little bit, yeah.
A little crazy.
So, like, the entire time he's, like, yelling at his past self, like, you're such a wimp, like, you should have killed her right there. And kind of gives you, like, a preview of what's to come. So from here, we have to escape Helheim, and, like, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. Like, we get, like, a ship that, like, is floating.
Oh my god, that was awesome. We're on this flying ship, and, like, sometimes you could look over and still see that bird, that giant bird in the sky. But yeah, the fights on that ship were really fun, because you kept having enemies, like, jumping on board, and you'd have to, like, fight them, and then you'd have to go, like these huge grapples would get shot at the ship, and you'd have to go, like, pry those off so you could keep flying.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand, like, what that was or why we were using that way to get out of Helheim, but it was fucking awesome flying on that ship.
And so from here, like, right before we leave, a, like, kind of vision of Kratos killing Zeus from God of War 3 appears, and apparently Kratos' other big fear is Atreus finding out that he killed his father in Zeus. So after they get out of there, they go back to the Lake of Nine and go inside one of Tyr's chambers, and he's like, "Hey, did you see that?" And Atreus is like, "See what? I don't know what you're talking about." And you're kind of like, "Okay, all right, good guy Atreus, just pretend like he didn't see that."
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, "All right, this game is really good, and I don't really know where we're going from here."
I know, because surely we would have gotten to Jotunheim by now, but no.
Yeah.
Stuff keeps happening.
So now that we think, okay, well, Tyr's back door is destroyed, we have no way to get to Jotunheim, right? Well, then they go inside one of Tyr's chambers and they put it together that he was using the realm in between realms to get to Jotunheim. And to get there, they have to flip the entire Bifrost upside down and really throw things out of whack. And this was like the craziest scene to me because Kratos is picking up this entire thing and flips it upside down. And you're like, oh my god, this is such like insane nonsense. So you're getting like real close. Like we're like, all right, like we're going to Jotunheim. But we still gotta deal with Balder. So next thing you know, the world serpent is getting thrown around, and you're like, oh snap.
Wait.
And
Wait. We go inside the world serpent for something. I don't remember what it was. But we had to take our boat inside the world serpent. It came down, it opened its mouth. We went in there like Jonah and a whale. And we went in and we had to go pick something up. And then we were going to come back out.
He is one of the last of the giants. So he has one of the relics needed.
Okay.
One of the keystones needed to get to Jotunheim through this realm between worlds. Because he's last of the giants.
So as we're in him, coming out.
That's when he starts getting.
Yeah, that's stuff. So you start getting shook all around. You're like, what is going on? He eventually spits you out on the side of another mountain.
Yes. Somewhere we missed the part where we went and climbed up the dead giant with the hammer, and we used the hammer to smash through some ice. I think that's where we got one of the keystones for the back door that they thought was by Mimir. So Baldur has apparently been beating up the world serpent.
Yeah, and like I panicked and I thought the world serpent was dead, but he comes back later. He wasn't dead. It was okay. So that was good. And
by this time, Freya is also like looking for Baldur, and so Kratos and Atreus, now they know that Baldur is Freya's son, are kind of like hesitant about Freya because like they don't know if Freya's going to betray him. Baldur shows up and is like, "I'll deal with you later, mother," and like goes to punch Kratos after they get into like a scuffle, and Atreus jumps in front, and about like 3 hours earlier, Atreus's bow strap had broke, and Kratos used an arrow tip that Sindri gave them to fix it. And then Freya freaked out about these arrows, and I was like, I don't get why she's freaking out.
Special green arrows, yeah.
Special green arrows, and she like threw them in the fire, and she's like, never use these. Use my special arrows. But so he still has one of the green ones tied to the strap on his bow, and Baldur punches him in the chest.
I thought, did we fight a little bit before this happened? Because I think we fight for a little while.
It's like a scuffle, kind of.
Yeah, because it's really cool because you're fighting, and then just randomly, Freya doesn't want you to hurt her son, obviously. She doesn't want her son to hurt you very much either. So she'll just, like, call up these vines from the ground, and they'll, like, lock one or the other of you up in the vines for a minute. So you're having to deal with that while you're fighting. And then I don't know if it's before or after that. I think there's also a section of the fight where you're kind of, like, in a certain little area, like a square, and Baldur keeps like transitioning between like fire and ice and like different abilities. Is that before or after?
After.
Okay.
But Baldur punches Atreus in the chest, and like Kratos is like, oh no, like he shattered like his ribcage or something, and he's like, breathe, boy, breathe, and he's like, I'm fine, and like points at Baldur, and like you see this like magic like dissipate, and it's because the arrowhead was. What was it called?
Oh, I don't remember at all. Was it mistletoe?
Mistletoe. The arrowheads were made of mistletoe, and that is the only thing that could hurt Balder, and it broke the curse or spell that Freya had put on him.
Mm-hmm. So now he can feel pain, he could be injured, he could be killed. Pain.
So at this point, Kratos is like, all right, let's do this. And Kratos and Atreus proceed to team up and beat up Balder. All the meanwhile, Freya has taken control of the dead giant that's nearby and is trying to stop them from fighting by like using this dead giant's body that she reanimated to like hold them back. There's a cat behind you all of a sudden. Yeah, and so like Balder is like going back and forth between like fire and ice because he's like he can feel pain now. He knows what he can do.
This was like the hardest fight for me. I had so much trouble like being able to switch back and forth between the weapons quick enough. Because like once you started an animation, it would have to finish that before it would let you switch, and it was just like I died a few times, but it was all right.
So towards the end of the fight, we kind of like have beaten him down, and like he's beaten. Like Atreus and Kratos get in their final blows, and unlike earlier, how when Kratos was like he's defeated, leave him. Atreus is like he's defeated, leave him, Dad, and Kratos agrees. So he gets up to leave, and Freya is like, "Oh, my son," and Balder's like, "No, I hate you," and this is where we kind of get like. Freya will do anything for her son, kind of how like Kratos would do anything for his son. And so Balder is like, she's like, he wants to kill Freya, and Freya's like, if that's what will make you happy, I will let you do that. So Balder starts to choke Freya, and I was like, no fucking way we're doing this. This is some hardcore shit.
Yeah.
Like I was like, they're really gonna do this, wow. And Kratos stops him, like puts him in a headlock, and is like, we have to break the cycle. We can be better than this. And then he snaps Balder's neck, and Balder falls to the ground. And like, I guess this is like he can finally feel the snow hitting him. Because I guess maybe the mistletoe didn't get rid of all of the whole like he can't feel thing, but when he died, he could finally feel everything. And I thought that like we had to break the cycle part was really hitting because in all the God of War games up until this point, Kratos was on a mission to kill all the gods, and he was part of a cycle. So when he says these words of "we have to break the cycle," it really hit me because it's like. Kratos realizes that the gods can be better. Like they don't have to do this endlessly. How did you feel about that entire moment?
It was intense. It's another one of those that was like so well done emotionally. Just like talking about it again is getting me a little whew. Because it's such a powerful thing that like a mother loves her child so much and that she only wants the best and she's willing to sacrifice herself to try to give him peace, that's such a powerful thing. But yeah, Kratos, well, and he does that, and like, he's just made a new enemy now, because Freya is never gonna forgive that he killed her son. So it's definitely one of those catch-22s, because, you want to do the right thing. Balder's definitely the villain here, but it's not what she wanted. He took the choice away from her also. So it's just like, wow. And I mean, also just like more like outside of the game, like the meaning of it, breaking the cycle of violence, and like how God of War, previously he had killed his wife, and I don't think women were represented or treated very well in previous games. So, like, this could just be, like, a real clear, like, hey, obviously this game is very different. We've changed. And maybe just, attitudes in the world. It could be making a statement about that as well. Hey, it's time to change, and let's look out for our women and, the people that don't always have someone to look after them. I don't know. But it's a really powerful scene. So.
Yeah, and so... right after this, like, Freya freaks out because her son's dead. She's yelling at Kratos, saying like how she's gonna curse him and like spit on his dead body, pretty much. And she says the line how he's just an animal, sharing the pain he feels with everybody. And Kratos is like, "And you do not know me." And she makes the comment about how, "But does he know you?" And talking about Atreus. And this is kind of where Kratos like finally does the last bit of revealing about who he is. And he's like, "I am from Sparta. I sold my soul to a god, and I killed my father." And Atreus is like, "Is that all we do as gods? We kill our fathers and kill our mothers?" And like Atreus gets down on his knees in front of Atreus and is like, "No, we decide the kind of gods we can be." And like fucking hits you like right there. You're like, "Oh, it was so sweet."
It was, but here's the thing. He says he killed his father, but he never admits to killing his previous wife and child.
I think that's gonna come back in the next one.
Okay.
I feel like
it's like Atreus can only take so much, I guess.
I feel like killing the father thing wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, because he was God.
Except
he was
for it kind of tied into what was going on in the story at the time.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the whole killing his wife and other child will come back eventually.
Yeah.
So after this, you're kind of like, all right. Like Freya carries Baldur's body off, and you're like, all right, this is it. We're going to Jotunheim.
And you're like, in the next game, she's gonna be out to get me.
Oh yeah. Well, there's some stuff we'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah. That like definitely you're like, oh shit. So for real this time, I'm
finally we get. Oh wow, that's loud.
Yeah.
Setting the mood.
Yeah. So finally, we are going to Jotunheim. We get on the Bifrost. We smack that thing in there. We
That's
go
what she
through the
said.
realm between realms. Oh gosh. Anyways, and we are in Jotunheim, and you walk through the door, and you see all these dead giants, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like a whole wasteland. Like there's nothing alive in Jotunheim anymore.
And Kratos undoes the bindings on his arms that have been hiding the scars from the blades of chaos and all that. And he's like, I am finally free. Like I have nothing else to hide. Still kind of does though.
Except for that whole wife and kids murder thing, but that's fine.
And like my favorite part is Atreus walks up and is like, can we get going now? Like it's kind of weird. And
was this the point also where the whole game Atreus has been asking Kratos if he can carry his mother's ashes? Yes, and Kratos is always like, no, you're not ready for that. And at this point he gives the ashes to Atreus. It's like now it's time.
And that was really sweet.
Yeah, that was really good.
And so we go into this tunnel, and like there's like pictures on the wall depicting how the giants had to flee Midgard to get away from Odin, and then Atreus like touches one of the walls, and
it like dissolves. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, it froze for a second. Sorry. He touches the wall, and the wall kind of like dissolves and starts doing some etches, and you see all the events of the video game that you just played are unfolding on these walls, and you find out that Faye, Atreus' mother, was a giant. And
so giants often have the gift of prophecy. So she knew everything that was going to happen, and she had etched it into these walls. I'm getting real emotional about this. It was so good, you guys. And what was the last etching that you see?
Well, are you talking about the one that Kratos uncovers, or are you talking about the one that...
Oh, because Atreus had already left. He'd gone outside. He didn't see it. Oh,
okay, so the one before Atreus walks outside is them spreading the ashes together. And it's really, like, sweet. And so Kratos even remarks, like, oh, I guess I wasn't the only one hiding secrets. So you find out Atreus is part god, part giant. And so Atreus runs outside, and Kratos like pulls up this kind of like banner, and underneath it you see Kratos dying, and Atreus is holding him, and something is coming out of Kratos' mouth. Looks kind of like a serpent, kind of weird. And Kratos like, I forget what the statement he says is, but he kind of like is like, okay, and drops the banner and continues outside, and they let the ashes go. And this is like the big moment, and like the music really swells up here, and you're like, I got a little choked up.
I'm getting choked up right now.
And you kind of, this entire game, it's all about Kratos being a dad, like not knowing what he's doing. And he's been wanting to put his hand on Atreus multiple times. He keeps pulling himself back, and there's a moment where he almost does it, but Atreus runs off, and I think got injured at this point. But this is the moment where he finally puts his hand on Atreus, and they look up into the sunset as Faye's ashes scatter in the wind, and you're just kind of like, it's just a great moment. Like, you're like, what a way to end the game, right? So they start to walk back, and the biggest moment of the entire game happens, where Atreus is like, Dad, I noticed on all the writings they refer to me as Loki. And Kratos goes, yes, that is what your mother wanted to name you. And you're just like, what?
Holy shit! I know! Because, like, I had no idea that was coming. Even after we found out that his mother was a giant, like, it still didn't click for me that, oh, he's half giant now. It was just like, nope, no, I didn't get it. So, yes. Oh my god, that was so exciting.
And, like, it was like 4 a.m. for me when this happened. So I just jumped out of my chair. I was like, no way! What's happening? Like, what a bomb to drop at the very end of the game.
Yes.
And, like, Cory Barlog has, like, come out and been like, well, if you notice, there's, like, certain hints that he is Loki throughout the entire game. Like, his first animal summon is a wolf, and he can really communicate with animals really well, and he asks, can he turn into an animal? And, like, that's kind of what Loki is known for, is turning into animals and helping with animals. And you're just like, holy shit. And, like, Loki in mythology, like, helps kill Balder, and that's what he did here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, and so credits kind of start rolling with you as you're walking back,
and then the best story ever happens, because Atreus is like, well, you know, I guess I like Atreus better. I'm glad that's my name. How did I get that name? And so Kratos tells the story about how when he was a Spartan soldier, one of his squad mates or whatever was a guy named Atreus, and he was obviously he was a fierce warrior, because they all were, and he was, you know, fantastic at that. But he was always had a smile, and he was always encouraging and made everybody happy. Oh my god, you have to finish telling the rest of it. I can't tell.
And so Atreus was like this perfect soldier to Kratos, and like somebody he looked up to. And so, and like, he even remarks about how when he buried Atreus and planted his shield into the sand, how he would always remember him, and so that's why he picked the name Atreus. And you're just kind of like, god damn. And then
he's like the optimism that Kratos didn't have for himself, like what that means for his son. Oh, it was so good.
And then Atreus remarks about how, hey, you finally told a good story. And it's just like, oh,
it was so sweet. Oh my god.
And so you walk back through the Jotunheim door, and that's pretty much the end of the main game. You pick up Mimir because the dwarves were watching over Mimir while you went to the sun.
They were, but then they just left him there on the ground, didn't they? You come back out and they're gone?
Something comes up later if you do a certain side story, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
So if you remember from that podcast where I mentioned talking about God of War, I said, remember to go home.
Yes. I didn't remember. Cody had to text me afterwards. I was like, well, remember to go home. I was like, oh, okay. So then I went home.
So you go home, And you and Atreus are like, all right, that was a long journey. Let's get our rest. So you lay down, and the screen goes dark, and then it flashes up 4 years later, 4 or 5 years. Doesn't matter. Some kind
Or
of
did
years
it
later.
say many years later?
I think it said many, maybe.
I think it said many because then when they come back on screen, I was like, Atreus looks exactly the same. He doesn't look any older, which I guess maybe that's a god giant
Yeah.
thing. I don't know, but I was like, huh, that's weird.
And it said many years later.
Yeah.
And you hear a thunderstorm, and you're like, it's hitting the house, and Kratos is like, grab your weapon, boy. And you go and you open the door, and there's a figure in front of the door, just like how it was with the stranger. And the camera's panning, and Kratos is like, who are you? And then this character that's standing in front of your house has a cloak on, and he whips the cloak away to reveal Mjolnir. It's fucking Thor.
And there's lightning flashing all around.
And there's a lightning everywhere.
It looks
and
awesome.
You're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then it just goes credits. And it's like a tease for the next game. And you're like,
yes.
That was awesome.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was so good.
So that is the main kind of story of God of War. And like, what a game. Just, so I loved every minute of it. There's
it's so
the
emotional.
Loki reveal was so great. But yeah, it's so emotional. Like, we talked about on the podcast before. Like, I felt like I felt every emotion in this game. Because, like, there's moments where you're, like, on the verge of tears. There's moments when you're angry because Atreus is being a little shithead. There's a moment where you're, like, envious of kind of the relationship at the end that Kratos has with his dad, or Kratos has with his son. Like, every emotion in the book, I really felt for this. So there is some kind of, like, side story stuff that adds to what's going on. So there's 2 realms you can go to, and then there is the Valkyries that you can fight.
Fuck those Valkyries, man.
So I think let's tackle the 2 realms first. So there's Muspelheim, which is where Surtur is, and it's like the fire realm. Not a lot of story stuff going on here, just besides the fact that like you kind of learned that like Surtur is supposed to bring upon Ragnarok. And this is where I met my first Valkyrie, because I hadn't ran into any before this. And there's a lot of cool challenges. There's a challenge where you have to defeat 100 enemies, and like that made me feel like such a badass.
I got pissed off.
Oh, I was having so much fun just blowing them up.
I was just like, God, my hands are getting so sore. It's just like, yeah, okay, I can kill 100 enemies, but do I really need to? But yeah.
I don't know. I loved it.
Well, and I think I didn't do any of this until after I beat the game. And I will say that I think the game is so well done because you don't need to grind, you don't need to level up to beat the main game. You can just play it through and you get stuff as the story goes just as you naturally would, and it's a-okay. Like, there's no problem with being under-leveled. It's like paced perfectly. And then if you just do the main story and don't do these side things. But then if you want to do the side stuff afterwards, because it is more grindy. But in Muspelheim, when you're doing the trials, I felt like they would have been good to do in the main story, because like they help train you to be better at the game and to like handle things a different way. Like, there's one where like the enemy's health regenerates all the time after your hits, and so like there was this one guy that like, well, you're supposed to like do your melee attacks and then like rip them apart, but there's one guy that was too tough for that, and I spent like 5 minutes trying to kill him, but like every time I'd get him low, he would just come right back up, and I eventually figured out I just had to go and like throw him off the cliff, and then I'm like, oh, that was really easy, if only I'd done that. But it teaches you other ways to fight maybe than, what you've been used to. If you go into it and you're just like kind of stuck in one way of combat, it shows you a lot of different ways to do things that you might not have been. So it's pretty helpful, I would say. But yeah.
Then there is it Niflheim, right?
Niflheim.
Niflheim, which has this like constant gas that's damaging you, and like the point is it's kind of like a roguelike, where you go in and you're trying to collect these like orbs. They're not actual orbs, but like it shows up.
They're
At the
called
top,
mist echoes.
Mist echoes.
Yeah.
And like you're trying to get as many as you can to unlock chests and to open up these realm tears, so that you can defeat enemies that come out for the trophy. And at first I hated it, but once you actually get the armor that makes you take less damage, it's not that bad.
Here's the thing. I was like, this is okay. At first I was like, I don't really care. I could do this a little bit. But then once I found out that some of the armor sets were ones that give you health regeneration, I was like, oh yeah, I like that. Let's do that. So then I was like, okay, I can grind for a while and do this. So I got my all 3 pieces of armor that have that perk. And I was like, well, let me just go see what else I have to do. And I had like 2 chests left that were both 7,500 mist echoes. And then I had all the realm encounters, which I think are at least 10,000. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to go grind through this that much anymore. So that was about the point where I decided like I was going to be done with God of War. I wasn't going to try to get the platinum. I did, if there were like little easy trophies, I wanted to get some. So I wanted to go ahead and get the axe and the Blades of Chaos like upgraded to their max level. And so I had to kill a Valkyrie for one of them, and I had to do something else for the other. So I ended up getting them, but I was like, once I got my armor that regenerates health, I was like, okay, I can go take on this Valkyrie now. Because like I tried it a couple times and just gotten my ass kicked horribly. But I eventually killed a Valkyrie, and that was kind of exciting. But now it's been like a couple of weeks since I've played it, and I'm kind of feeling like, you know what, I could go back and just, because it's fun to play that combat style, so I can go back and do that a little bit and just like, make a little bit more progress in Niflheim. Also, I still have just regular side quests to do, because, like I said before, I can't figure out the navigation in this map, and there's like places I'm supposed to go that I see on the map, and I'm like, I don't know how to get there, so I'm gonna have to follow some guides or something, because, I have trouble.
Yeah, there's a couple side quests. There's one side quest I know. There's an area you unlock after you beat the game, because you're like, oh, I can finally go over here. But after Niflheim, so I took on all the Valkyries. Mm-hmm. So there's 8 Valkyries, and then the Valkyrie Queen. And Valkyrie Queen is what I can only compare it to a Dark Souls boss. Because, did I die a lot before I was like, all right, I need to go upgrade all my armor, try a different strategy, because what I'm doing is not working. She was tough, and like I was so glad when I finished that one. I was like, oh my god, because after that it was a collectathon of where I was collecting different things.
Well, and it's so well done the way this game is, because if you want that challenge, you can go and do it, but you don't have to finish the game and enjoy it. Like it can be like nice and easy. So it's nice that has options.
But I really wanted that platinum, so I was like, I need to do this. Yeah. But there is a story thing that will pop up after you defeat her. Mm-hmm. You find out that Freya is the actual queen of the Valkyries.
Oh, okay.
And that Brock and Sindri disappeared because Freya showed up to ask Mimir where her wings were, because she wants to get ready for battle.
Oh. Well, and that's something that's said earlier in the game, is because she used to be married to Odin. It didn't work out. She got punished, and she was like cursed, where she was not able to physically harm another living being. So something's going to happen where that's going out the window, and she's going to be able to kick some ass, obviously. That's exciting. Her as a Valkyrie, fuck yeah.
When that happened, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I really love this game. Like, that's kind of the last of like the real spoiler talk. There's nothing else really.
I don't think so.
Like, all the side quests don't really add anything, I don't feel.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is my favorite video game of all time. I felt like the combat was perfect, story was perfect. I'm so excited for the next one. Like, it's going to be a few years. I know we'll be on PS5, I'm sure, by then, but I'm so ready for it. This
Yeah.
game was something else.
And I mean, I think that it's probably the best video game ever made. Like I don't know that I'd say it's my favorite. I loved it a lot, but that Resident Evil 4 just has that weird spot in my heart that can't let go. I don't know, but yeah, it is just a phenomenal game. Everything about it is done just right. So, except for, that navigation. If they could just if I could push a button and it would make a little track that would highlight for just a second, tell me which way to go, that would
I'll
be
say
superb.
my biggest complaint about the game is there are certain pathways that close once you beat the game.
God,
Because
that was
how
pissing me
you
off.
get up to the dead giant the first time, you can no longer do that because Freya's now moved the giant body,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that until I couldn't figure out how to get over there. Same with you can't get out of Freya's garden because it's blocked by vines, and it's kind of annoying. But other than that, I didn't really have a lot of complaints with the game. I thought everything was really fun.
Yeah.
I do want to go back and mess around with photo mode.
Oh yeah.
And apparently, there is one of the summons you get for Atreus that summons the squirrel god,
Radagast. Oh my God.
And apparently he's a snarky little bastard.
Do you know what? Radagast made an appearance in The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. I would love to see that.
So yeah, that's been the God of War spoiler cast. Sam, if you had to give this game a rating, what would you give it?
I mean, I'd give it the 10, but everyone's giving it. It deserves a 10.
I'm gonna give it 5 boys out of 5. That's not very boy. Just over and over.
I approve.
Alright, you guys.
I mean, it sounds a little dirty, but I still approve.
If you'd like to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, we are at GeekCardGames. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we are geekcardgames.com/YouTube. If you want to talk to us on Discord, where we're doing all kinds of cool talks, people are breaking rules, talking about Destiny and the PlayStation channel, you can hit it up on geekcardgames.com/Discord. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, twitch.tv/geekcardgames. I think we're going to start doing a couple more streams. I kind of want to start streaming some of the Destiny stuff I've been doing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun since Warmind came out. As always, we thank you for listening, but if you could, leave us a review on iTunes or whatever you're listening to. Recommend this podcast to a friend. Get it out there. We appreciate it. And I am at Comic Book Cody on Twitter. Sam?
I'm at SKSUVAK.
Am I forgetting anything else?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
So until next time, we've been Geek Art Games. Do we do the jingle here?
Yes.
Do the jingle, Sam.
We're just a god and a boy who heart games. Do 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 do. Yeah.
I like it, but who is the god and who is the boy here?
I think I'm the boy. I'm smaller. I'm less coordinated. You get angry more often.
Oh, good point.
I mean, I think clearly you're the god and I'm the boy.
We need to go to a gaming convention and play Kratos and Atreus.
I'd be alright with that.
You gotta have the haircut for it. You dyed it a little orange and you gotta go.
Yeah, man. I've got the bow and arrow.
True. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Bye. Oh, wait. Okay, we need to go ahead and plan out our thumbnail image. And I was thinking we could do a series of Kratos faces. We could be angry, we could just be we could make some so we could do some different things. Okay?
What if we were just I can't do it because I'm laughing, but what if we were just stoic
Well, that's what one of them was going to be, is where we have to, you have to look like that, but you have to look a little bit pissed off. So you're just kind of okay, I think that was good. We look real weird. And then one we were just kind of like... Okay.
Good? Okay.
Yeah,
Wow,
but
that
also
really
I
did.
kind of want one that's like that, but also with some hands. Can we do that?
I feel like I should get an axe. Like, I wish I had the foam Kratos axe. I could just hold it, but
Do you
I don't
have any
that.
type of axe? I have a small hatchet. I can go get it.
Please do that.
Okay. I'll be right back.
I'm trying to figure out if I still have my bow and arrow. I think I threw it out.
Real upsetting news, Cody. I don't know where the hatchet is. The hatchet is part of my emergency. You've got a coat
This is a
hanger.
close hanger, but it looks like a bow and arrow if I hold it like this.
Oh my! I have a bow and arrow.
I used to have a bow and arrow, and I guess I got rid of it.
It's probably too big to actually fit in frame.
Yeah, you know, what if
No,
we just
hold
like,
on, hold on. No, I'm gonna get it. Just a second. Just a second.
I'm really worried Sam has all these goddamn weapons. Good lord, Sam. Alright, that works.